one reading is not something that you can get by one reading. You have to be introduced. There's no question. It's self. Just can't pick up Gita and start reading it like you read any book. There's so many ramifications of it. But the beautiful, some of the beautiful shlokas I would like to mention to you. There's one shloka which is right at the end, shloka number 63 of chapter 18. And what he says, what Krishna says in as a parting comment, he has finished teaching Arjuna. Thus has wisdom more secret than all that is secret, been declared to thee by me. Then he says, reflect thou over it all and act as you please. God is telling a human that I've taught you everything I know, but ultimately you have to do as you please. So the power of the human will is recognized in our Hindu religion throughout. And that's why we, despite not having a pope, a book, or a church-like institutions, we have flourished and today are the longest living religion of the world and the longest living culture of the world. 45 civilizations have come, 44 are dead, only one survives, and that is Hinduism. And the foundation of that survival is this. One of the things that I learned at a very early stage from Gita was that Sukha-dukhe samay kritva lava lava jaya jaya. So, that shloka which tells you that these opposites don't get moved from one corner to another. Sometimes we're sad, sometimes just be moderate. Be moderately happy, moderately sad. But this evenness of approach to every event, that is what I think has been my strongest support in coming through all these years of all the crises I've been through, and come out quite happy and without any hang-ups, etc. So this is one. Secondly, in several of the chapters, Gita, Lord Krishna says about the Varna system that these are gunas, and on the basis of gunas, this has been constructed. It's got nothing to do with birth. A Brahmin is one who is Jnani, Tyagi, Sasi, like that. Each had a particular field, and it doesn't matter where you were born, in which family you were born. But if you followed the disciplines of one of those four, then you become part of that thing. Now, this is very important for uniting us Hindus, to know that there is no such thing as a born Brahmin. Even if you're born in a Brahmin house, by your dharmas, you can be different. Vishwamitra was born in a Kshatriya house, and he became the Rishi of Rishis. Vedavyasa's mother was a fisherwoman. Kalidasa was in the jungles. You can go on seeing examples after examples of people coming from not necessarily born in Brahmin families. So I would like to see various castes act according to their gunas and their station in life. So this will unite the Hindu society much more. I certainly think that the Gita is an extremely important book. We don't need any other book, but have it on your desk. Keep reading it. Keep reading randomly after you've been through this course, and slowly start memorizing the evenness between extremes. Sukha-dukhe samaya kritva, as I quoted you. That is the key to mental peace. And there are a number of places where Krishna says that you have only freedom of action. I am going to decide the result. So therefore, yes. So therefore, it doesn't matter, you work for results, but you know that the result is not in your hand. There's a multiplicity of factors which go to make the result, and it is Krishna who decides, or God, if you want to say. And all you have is freedom in life, is action. And therefore, concentrate on what you should do and not necessarily will I get this sometime. So in this background, I wish you very successful session with the Gita, and learn what is dear to Krishna. Krishna has also described the qualities of a human being who make him dear to him. So those are towards the later chapters. Go through them and pick them out and memorize those particular ones. You don't have to memorize the whole Gita. I know Moraji Desai could recite the Gita from page 1 to to the 18th chapter, but you don't have to be so proficient. You just your teacher will tell you which are the things for your character building. Concentrate on that, and you will be a happy person, and in the long run you will be a successful person. This is what I want to do. Thank you for the opportunity. It's a great thing. We must teach everybody Gita, and by then you'll see we'll be one of the happiest people in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Swami.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. So over to you, Dr. Gaurang Priya. You can take over.
Hare Krishna. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we welcome all the participants assembled here, and we had a wonderful introduction by Dr. Swami, where he mentioned some of the brilliant points from Bhagavad Gita. Especially the last statement was so wonderful, that just teach Bhagavad Gita to everyone and everyone will be fully happy in their life. And we also heard some of the very interesting verses which Dr. Swami quoted from Bhagavad Gita. Sukhe dukhe same kritva labha labho jaya jayo. This is one of the most special points of Bhagavad Gita, how to live life with a balance. I was reading one very interesting statement. Hold your plans lightly, but not tightly. Such a brilliant statement. Hold your plans lightly, but not tightly. And the person who was quoting this, one of my very good friends, he was telling that you should hold your plants the way you hold a butterfly. I'm sure some of you in your childhood would have experienced holding a butterfly. When you hold a butterfly, you are careful enough that the butterfly doesn't slip away from your hands. At the same time, butterfly is so delicate, the wings are so delicate that you hold very lightly, not so tightly that you crush the wings of the butterfly. And the butterfly loses its ability to fly. Fly, that's the purpose, butterfly. This is one of the very important lessons of Bhagavad Gita, that Bhagavad Gita makes us very determined to pursue our plans, at the same time teaches us the art of holding our plans lightly, not tightly, because everything will not go our way. In fact, the land of India, or better to say Bharat Bhumi, that's the better word. Bharat Bhumi, there's a beautiful verse which comes, Bharat Bhumite haile manushya janma yar, janma sarthak kari, kara para upkar. Okay, so as I am speaking, I request, if any problem with the uh, sound transmission, please do mention in the chat box. And if you get any questions during the session, please do mention in the chat box. Bharat Bhumite haile manushya janma. Srila Prabhupada, who is the founder Acharya for International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON, when he went to London, he was asked, Swamiji, why have you come here? What is your purpose? He said, Britishers came to India. They took away a lot of things from India, but they forgot one thing. And I have come to deliver that thing also. And that is the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, which is the most precious wealth of Bharat Bhumi. Therefore, scriptures say, Bharat Bhumite Manushya Janma. If anybody born in the land of Bharat, in the Bharat Varsha, in fact, before I complete this statement, I would say, it is also mentioned that if anyone is too proud of their nation and worships their nation, such a person is considered very lowly on his consciousness level, on a very low platform. But if somebody born in Bharatvarsh and worships Bharatvarsh as the land of birth and feels very proud of it and really does something to make his birth glorious, that is very special, because Bharat is very special. And what is it that makes Bharat special and Bharatvasis special? Because they are born in the land of Dharma, the land which promotes the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. See, before I come to the theme for today, I'm just giving a small introduction to our sessions. And therefore, Bhagavad Gita, because so special, think about it, Bhagavad Gita, as per our knowledge goes, was spoken as per what most people know Bhagavad Gita as. Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjun 5,000 years ago on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And in that, Shri Krishna tells Arjuna, Imam Vivasvate Yoga. I also spoke this knowledge to sun gods several lakhs of years ago. So the format in which Bhagavad Gita is available to us in the current format, this is how Lord Krishna is speaking to Arjuna on Kurukshetra. But the knowledge per se is relevant, is existing, is eternally existing, eternally relevant since eternity. Because basically this is the knowledge of creation. This is the knowledge of laws of cosmos. This is how the whole creation works. And therefore, since last 5,000 years, so many books have been written, so many authors have come and gone, so many books have been written and have become irrelevant over the years. but Bhagavad Gita has stayed. Bhagavad Gita has existed. The test of time was relevant in the past, is relevant in the present, and will be relevant in future for all time to come. It's really amazing, some book which is relevant since, if we take the Lord Krishna Arjuna format, that conversation, then this is relevant since 5,000 years. People are discussing Bhagavad Gita, and even today people are saying this is the book of knowledge. 5,000 years for a book to survive and be relevant. It cannot be written by an ordinary man. That knowledge has to be given by, has to have connection with the Supreme God. Therefore, Gita Mahatmya brings out a beautiful verse. Sarva Upanishado Gavo. He says all the Upanishads. It's basically Gita Mahatmya is a series of verses which glorify Bhagavad Gita as a very, very special literature. And by glorifying Bhagavad Gita, the Gita Mahatmya says that all the Upanishads are like a cow. So Upanishad is like the cream of Vedic knowledge, but that's compared to a cow. And Lord Krishna is milking that cow, just like milk. A cow gives milk when the calf is there. Arjuna is that calf. And milk which is provided by the cow, or Upanishad, which is the crest jewel of all knowledge, even the cream of that Upanishad is that milk in the form of Bhagavad Gita. Such special is Bhagavad Gita. And also Dr. Swami was telling some things about how Bhagavad Gita has many, many perspectives, many, many angles, or many, many themes can come out of Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, over the next few weeks or few months, if Lord Krishna willing, we would be discussing some of the most important themes and trying to get some life lessons from Bhagavad Gita. And keeping that in mind, today, the section which I have chosen is the power of discipline. And fortunately, Dr. Sankhe, when he was giving introduction to the whole session, and when Dr. Swami came to the screen, and then Dr. Sankhe was telling the importance of Brahma Muhurat, getting up early in the morning. And fortunately, many of us, I mean, most of our programs, usually people take out time in the evening. It's such a special group that everybody is right there 6:30 in the morning attending the session. And of course, some people are from different countries. They might be having different time zones. But this whole idea of getting up in the morning is one of the small spark of the power of discipline. So today, taking as an introductory session for all the sessions, let us start discussing about the concept of discipline. Few days back, now it's February, in January, on the Makar Sankranti day, many people fly kite. Kite flying is very exciting. This time I didn't see many, but many used to fly kites. And kite flying has been very exciting for the kids, especially. They get very excited. So what happened? One time there was a child who was standing next to his father, and he saw that the kite which we are flying is going high, but it's not going very high because the kite is still tied to the thread. So the son suggested to the father, let's do one thing, let's cut away the thread, and then the kite will go even higher, much, much higher. And it would be so wonderful. Then we can see kite going into the sky. It is because of the thread that the kite is not able to fly high. Now, as we are saying, a child said this, and a child means somebody who is immature, who doesn't have the experience, and he's trying to apply his intelligence and thinking the kite will go high. But child doesn't know that actually the kite is going high because of the thread. The thread, which seems to be a limiting factor, it may appear to an immature intelligence, the thread is limiting the heights of the kite, but actually thread is the cause of kite going so high. Similarly, when we talk about discipline, when we talk about rules and regulations, apply some regulations in your life, apply some rules in your life. When we think about these subject matter, these kind of statements, the first thought which comes to our mind is, oh, it would be so painful. It would be so limiting to our life. It would really limit our life and limit our desires and maybe limit our growth. It may appear like that. Now, Bhagavad Gita is full of verses, several verses which come again and again, which brings to us the power of discipline. And discipline is like the thread of the kite, which actually takes the kite high and doesn't limit. In fact, if you cut the discipline, then the kite may fall down and will not be able to go to the heights. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita, text 2.64, the verse which talks about discipline, brilliant verse. It says, Raga Dvesha Vimuktaistu Vishayan Indriyaischaran Atma Vashayer Vidheyatma Atma Vashayer Vidheyatma Prasadam Adhi Gachati. What is the translation? A person free from all attachment and aversion, who is able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom. Such a person can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord. Please listen to this. This is a statement worth contemplating. It says, a person free from all attachment and aversion, who is able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom. 2.64 is suggesting us follow the regulative principles of freedom. Surprising. It is said regulative principles, at the same time it is said freedom. How can something which regulates you can actually free you? And that's exactly what we conveyed through the example of kite. That it appears that the thread is limiting us, but actually it frees us. And we will be discussing this with several examples. The regulative principles of freedom. Another beautiful example comes to my mind, which talks about the importance of discipline. And that is, I'm sure there would be many sweet lovers in this audience. You know, different people have different tongues. Some have sweet tongue. They like to eat a lot of sweets. Some like a lot of fried items. Some like very chili, spicy food. Now, for those who love sweet, different kinds of sweet, you know, I read this beautiful statement where discipline is, when talking about discipline, it is explained with the example of cooking of sweet rice. Such a beautiful example. The book says that the sweet rice, our success in life is compared to sweet rice. And if you have to cook sweet rice in life, in your kitchen, then you need proper ingredients. And you also need, with ingredients, you need proper recipe. I mean, you have just ingredients like in our temple, they make a very special sweet rice every day in the morning, and it's really delicious. So somebody packed it from the temple and took it to the home, the Mahaprasad of the deities. And they tasted it and they said, wow, this is divine. At our home also, we have rice, we have milk, we have camphor, we have cardamom, elaichi, but it doesn't come out like this. Please tell us, what is your recipe? This means with ingredients, we need a recipe also. Everybody will have different recipe. And what is that special flavor which is being tasted in this sweet rice? Please tell us what flavor you are adding. So that person was so desperate to know the recipe. So if you want sweet rice, you need ingredients, you need recipe, but just recipe and just sweet rice, just ingredients are not enough. You also need fire. Otherwise, how will you cook? You may have ingredients, you may have recipe, but till the fire is there, how will the cooking happen? Similarly, this personality was wonderfully comparing the success to sweet rice. If somebody loves sweet rice, that's like getting success in life. And if you want success in life, then one thing which we need is talent. We should have talent. And everybody is gifted with some talent. Some people are just born artists. There's one student which comes to our temple. He's just 5 years old, and he makes such beautiful paintings. And nobody taught him. He's just gifted. Since birth, from his past samskaras, he's carrying that talent. Or some people may develop talent. But with the talent, you also need to have strategy. If somebody wants to go for a wrestling championship or some championship on a global level, he may have talent, but then he has a coach, or it can be a cricket game or anything like that, any sports, he needs a coach, and coach gives the strategy. And the strategy is like the recipe for the sweet rice. So you have talent and you have the strategy, which is the recipe, but both of things also can't do much because coach is telling you something, you have a gifted talent, but both coming together still cannot lead to success till you have the right kind of fire, and that is the fire of discipline. So with talent and with strategy, to get success, you need fire of discipline. And this discipline can be worked out in 8 different sections, which we'll be discussing now onwards. 8 different sections. And we'll be discussing this based on several verses of Bhagavad Gita and some sections of Ramayana and Mahabharata to get a clarity of what we are speaking about. But please understand, discipline is like fire, which is going to give us success. Let us analyze what are the 8 different areas. If we are properly disciplined, then we can make our easy journey to the success of sweet rice, or the sweet rice of success. A very interesting question is coming. Hare Krishna Prabhu, if I live in USA and I wake up at 4 a.m. there, is it also Brahma Muhurtam or it is only in India? Yes, Brahma Muhurta is everywhere. Very nice, interesting question and a heartfelt question coming from the audience. Even in America, is it Brahma Muhurat? Yes, it is Brahma Muhurat everywhere. In fact, Bhagavad Gita says Kal, time. Time is energy of Lord Krishna. We'll be coming to that later. Talking about discipline, the very first discipline which we need to understand is physical discipline. This is amazing that some of the most established acharyas, teachers of spiritual sciences, those whose main focus is spiritual development, all such personalities, in spite of so much focus on spirit, they place health as the topmost priority. Physical discipline as the topmost priority. If you ask them how to prioritize the life, they say first thing is swasthya. Because body is a tool through which we perform several activities. If body is neglected, one cannot perform anything either at emotional level, intellectual level, spiritual level, social level, relationship level, nothing works. First, body has to be maintained properly. And you see, most successful people will have a wonderful regime for their physical care. A simple questions can actually make us understand, are we physically disciplined? before I go into scriptures, just simple questions. Do you have a regimen for some sort of physical workout, some physical care in a part of the day or some parts of the week? Do you eat moderately and at regulated times, or do you just overindulge? See, today we are starting from very basic. We are not jumping directly into the spiritual sciences. Is your sleep excessive, moderate, or inadequate? Are you sleeping and waking up times reasonably early, or are they reasonably consistent? And do you spare time for your rejuvenation, recreation at regular intervals? In this regard, a wonderful verse comes in Bhagavad Gita 6.17. See, whenever I am taking a theme, I'll be quoting different verses from different parts of Bhagavad Gita. If any of you can take note of it. These 4 month session will not be, this will be more of a thematic study of Bhagavad Gita and life lessons based study of Bhagavad Gita. It will not be a sequential verse by verse study of Bhagavad Gita, because that's how we advertise. It's going to be a theme based study. So anybody interested can refer to those sections. As in the introduction, we heard that you need not memorize all the verses, but at least some of the key verses you should be knowing. So 6.17 Bhagavad Gita mentions something on the physical discipline, where it is mentioned, Yuktahar viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu. One who is regulated in his eating, sleeping, work, and recreation. Now, interesting, Krishna personally brings out this concept of recreation also along with the work. One who is regulated in these activities, and he says, does not do too much and does not do too little. Does not eat too much, does not eat too little. Does not sleep too much, does not sleep too little. Such a person can achieve perfection in his yoga practices. Now, physical discipline can actually make a person achieve wonders. In Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter, first verse, or around third verse, Krishna gives the definition of fortitude or dhriti. Fortitude. And he says fortitude means to be able to have immense mental and emotional strength while undergoing difficult situations. And here I want to give two examples. I'm sure some of you would have heard of this lady by the name Arunima Sinha. I was looking at her video. Very, very painful story of what tragedy she had to undergo. She was immensely interested in sports, and the tragedy which she had to undergo was she was thrown by a group of people from a running train on a train track. And she was an active lady. And she lost one of her legs and the other leg got badly injured. And she was in immense pain. And I was hearing her speech. And then she decided what I want to do. And she had a desperate desire to do something and prove to the world that I cannot be limited by this. And she developed a desperate desire to do mountaineering and to climb Mount Everest. She said, what maximum could have happened? If I do this, if I do this, at the most I will die, but nobody else will be affected by that. I will die, fine. But if I do it, I will set a standard for the whole world to see that how physical discipline can make you do wonders. Now, in such a case, somebody to get adapted to a prosthetic leg or some support system, it may take a couple of years. But what I understood from the information where I got, within 2 years, this lady was up there on the Mount Everest, within just a couple of years. What must have taken her to do achieve such a level of success? Immense physical discipline. Sometimes we see people get so so defeated by some minor difficulties in their body. And minor difficulties completely limit them, and they just lose confidence in their life that we can do something. But here is a lady who lost one leg. She was not able to walk. She was handicapped, and she could achieve such a task, such a difficult task. What a level of fortitude she must be having. Mental and emotional strength to be able to undergo difficult situations. And that fortitude, that strength, that emotional, that mental strength to go through challenges, to go through obstacles, physical discipline plays a very, very important role. And therefore, Sri Krishna, as a very important tool for success in life, places it in 6th chapter. Yukta har viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. Somebody who lives a regulated life is able to overcome all the miseries. Now, all of you might be having your own difficulties on following these schedules and living a regulated life. But at least being aware, one can try little by little by little in whatever is possible in the capacity as per one's family, social circumstances. After physical discipline, the next discipline which comes is spatial discipline, space-wise. That's also a very interesting point, a very simple point, a very basic point. Sometimes I see two people, talking to each other, and they're saying, can you transfer these files from your computer to me or send me it on my email? And the other person is just struggling. I don't know where I kept it. I'm searching. I'm not sure what name also I gave to the file. A simple thing. You do not organize your things properly. Talking at a very basic level. Simple things which it is said, do you keep your workplace organized? Do you keep your wardrobe and living space clean and organized? Simple thing, which talks about spatial discipline, which contributes a lot to the success. In Bhagavad Gita, 17th chapter, 14th verse, a verse comes on austerity of body, where Shri Krishna is bringing out this point that what are the different things which the body finds it austere. And the verse says, Deva Dvija Guru Pragya Pujanam Shaucham Arjavam Brahmacharyam Ahimsacha Shariram Tapa Uchyate. Deva Dvija Guru Pragya Pujanam Shaucham. Right now I'm emphasizing on the word Shaucham, or cleanliness. And the next word says Arjavam, or simplicity. Now, this cleanliness is such an important phenomena, such an important concept to discipline. Srila Prabhupada, who is the founder Acharya and who in our ISKCON, so he one time was asked in one temple which was in a building phase. It was in a construction phase, and the devotees who were staying there, it was in a very early stages of ISKCON, very, very early stages. And the devotees who were staying there, many of them had come from West. They were not used to India in terms of climate also. And at the same time, all these construction challenges, etc. And they were complaining to Srila Prabhupada. And they were saying, there are so many rats, there are so many mosquitoes, there are so many difficult living conditions. We can't live here. What is the solution? How to overcome this? And Srila Prabhupada said, this is happening like this because you are not chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra properly. Now, for those of you who do not know, in ISKCON, we have this practice every day in the morning for 1.5 to 2 hours, we are supposed to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, on beads. And he said, because you're not chanting. So these devotees are bewildered. What chanting has to do with the presence of rats and mosquitoes on the property and with the living conditions? What connection chanting has with that? And Srila Prabhupada said, because a person who is chanting Hare Krishna is supposed to, now Hare Krishna Mahamantra or chanting the names of the God is a process to clean the mind, to clean the consciousness. And he said, when your consciousness is not clean, when your mind is not clean, automatically your surroundings are also unclean. And when your surroundings are unclean, naturally what you expect, this is the kind of result you expect. Diseases will come, rats will come, mosquitoes will come. Now it's surprising, he gave such a simple solution, but such a deep connection between the highest spiritual practices and something which we deal with on day to day in our life. Spatially organized. Discipline in our situations, in our surroundings is so important to contribute to the success. In Ayodhya, amazing city of Ayodhya during the times of Maharaj Dashrath, most well-organized city. It is said the whole Dashrath, very beautifully, the description of Ayodhya, the description of Ayodhya is given in Ramayana, that how Dashrath Maharaj had organized this city so perfectly, with a perfect security system to guard against any dangers coming from outside. At the same time, the inside of the Ayodhya was laid out in a very, very uniform, in a very structured way. Beautiful palaces, some thousands of palaces were there. Each palace was perfectly designed with gardens and fruit trees and flower trees, etc., around the palaces. And one beautiful thing which is mentioned in the arrangement of Maharaj Dashrath. He said Maharaj Dashrath, as a leader in Ayodhya, had made such a wonderful system of water conservation, that what happened was, in Ayodhya, for 12 years, one time, for 12 years, there was no rains. But because water preservation system was so perfect, nobody in Ayodhya realized that last 12 years there was no rains. This was a perfect management as an expert leader of Maharaj Dashrath. And it is only at the end of 12 years, somebody brought to the notice of Maharaj Dashrath that actually you have made such wonderful systems and we haven't realized that there is no rains, but let me tell you, there is no rains. Do something about it. And then Dashrath Maharaj did the astrological calculations and found out what is it that is causing the problems and no rains. But the point right now I'm making is the arrangements of the society, arrangements of the kingdom were so perfect. And these perfect arrangements make everyone feel so secure. Everyone feels so peaceful in mind. Everyone feels so clean that they could easily focus on their goals of life, on their spiritual goals of life, on their material goals of life, because all their basic necessities are nicely taken care of. Now, the third level of discipline is even at a higher level, and that is work-related discipline. Work-related. So we have physical discipline, spatial discipline. Now we are coming to the work, where often a lot of discussion often happens in terms of integrity, honesty, commitment, dedication. Sri Krishna brings out this point in in different sections of Bhagavad Gita. In fact, there's one section which comes in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where he speaks in detail about worker in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. There are three kinds of worker. Worker in Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamogun. Okay, before I go to work-related discipline, first I would like to take another discipline which in proper sequence. So we had physical, we had spatial, and before work-related, I would like to take a temporal discipline, discipline of time. Very powerful point, discipline of time. Shri Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita chapter 11th, where he says, Kalosmi lokakshayakrit pravriddho lokan samahartum iha pravritta rite pitwamna bhavishyanti sarve yevasthita pratya anikeshu yodha. This is 11th chapter, 32nd verse, 3-2. And he says, Kalos me, time I am, the destroyer of the world. Why he is referring to as destroyer? Because we see how in Kurukshetra, this whole battle is happening, and he's telling Arjuna, all these Kauravas in front of you will be killed by the passage of time. Anyways, whether you kill them or not. Now, temporal discipline refers to keeping a proper time strategy. In simple language, what does it deal with? It deals with that, do you keep a daily, a weekly, or a monthly schedule? Do you stick to your schedules? Are you punctual? Now, this is also, if you reflect, many times we are missing on these points. And whenever we are missing, we cannot get the sweet rice of success. Punctuality, I wanted to speak about punctuality with respect to time factor. You see, punctual are those people who actually value time. In fact, somewhere it was written, time is not the main thing. Time is the only thing. Time is not the main thing. Time is the only thing. How you utilize time. In Srimad Bhagavatam, this verse comes, Ayur harati vai pumsam uddyanastanch yan asau tasyarti yat shanonita uttam shloka vartaya. He said, with every day when the sun sets, with every rising of sun and the setting of sun, one day of your life is taken away from you. And this way, this precious human life which is given to you, time is very short, and gradually day after day, you are losing time, and you may not even realize till it's too late. Therefore, anybody in the advanced consciousness, they know that if time properly utilized, in fact, one place it is also mentioned, the way a businessman counts money and be very careful about spending every penny, or the way somebody, sometimes we have budget for the year, and how we very clearly demarcate this much money will be spent for this project, this much for this project, this much for this project. We have budgeting system. How nice it would be if people budget their time properly. How we budget and utilize our time very, very carefully, just like a person makes money and uses every rupee very carefully. I give you an example of the time schedule. Srila Prabhupada, his grand spiritual master, that is means the guru of his guru, he mentions, we look at his schedule, and it's a wonderful schedule which he describes, which is described that how he used to live his life. He was one of the most successful magistrate of his times, of British times, very, very respected by the British government, highly efficient, What 10 magistrates could not do, he could finish that much task in one day. Highly efficient. And let's look at his schedule. How much he used to value time. It is said 8 p.m. to 12 p.m. at night he would rest. 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. he used to write books. 4 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. he would again take half an hour rest. So night 2-hour rest, 8 to 10, 10 to 4 a.m. is only writing. He used to write books. And in his life, working as a magistrate, along with having 10 children at his home, he was a father of 10 children. This is a story of 1870, 1880, 1890, those years. And 4 to 4, so 10 to 4, he used to write books. And in his life, taking care of 10 children, working as a magistrate, British government fully impressed by his work efficiency. With all this, he wrote more than 75 books, the major books, and plus many, many small works. He was the author to those books. Can we imagine that many books written by a person in a small period of time? Every day, 4:30 a.m. to 7 a.m., he used to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra on his beads for 2.5 hours. Every day, 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m., he used to have correspondence with his, whatever correspondence he had. 7:30 to 9:30. So this personality would not just write, he would personally study literature, study shastras, study scriptures. 7:30 to 9:30 a.m. he used to study shastras. And 9:30 to 10 a.m. he would take some simple breakfast, prasad. 10 to 1 a.m., 3 hours, he would go and attend his court duties as a magistrate. 1 p.m. to 10 p.m., he used to have some refreshment at home, get fresh. 2 to 5 p.m., again 3 hours of court duties. And 5 to 7 p.m., he used to translate Sanskrit Shastras into the local language. And 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., again, he would refresh and take his dinner. He rested only 3 hours a day. For 6 hours approximately, he gave for his services to the government. For almost 8.5 hours, he did his writing. For almost 2.5 hours, he did his japa. For 2 hours, he did his personal study. And day in and day out, he followed this schedule very strictly. Now, if we think discipline is painful, somebody said a beautiful thing. See, pain we have to undergo. There are two types of pain. It can be a pain of discipline, of following a schedule, or it can be a pain of regret. When the time has gone away, years have gone away, and we have not used our time. And later on, we reflect, so much has gone away. Now, what is lost, we cannot get it back. That is the pain of regret. And it is said the pain of regret is much, much more painful than the pain of discipline. It's much more painful. When we reflect back and we see everybody has achieved so much, we have not done anything. Pain of regret. Here is Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who is the grand spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. He personally, look at his schedule, and he's showing us how temporal discipline plays such an important role to get success in life, to do anything tangible in life that is required. Temporal discipline. Somebody is writing a comment. Time is money is a good attitude. Realized it now. Thank you for that comment. And actually, many times we realize it only at the later phase of life when time is gone. But when time is there for young people, they don't realize it. It's on later stage you realize, oh, time is gone. And we become more cautious. And then after temporal discipline, which we discussed this. Okay, one more thing about temporal discipline. Lord Arjun, when Lord Krishna tells Arjun that time I am, and then he tells Krishna, Arjuna a beautiful thing in 33, 11.33, 33rd verse. He says, Tasmatvam uttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungsva rajyam samridham nimitta matram bhava savya sachi. He says, look, all the good things which are going to happen will happen. All the people who are supposed to be punished will be punished. Time I am going to achieve all that. But what you can do, if you discipline yourself, if you do not succumb to the whims of your mind, if you do not succumb to the distractions of your life, and if you want to become a part of this mission, if you discipline yourself and become a part of this mission, the mission which I have said, all the good things are anyway going to be done, all the bad people are anyway going to be punished. But if you become a part of the mission, nimitta matram, agar aap nimitta ban jayenge, I will give you all the credit. All the credit goes to you. And people will say, who won the battle of Kurukshetra? Nobody will say Krishna. People will say Arjun. Arjun was the main warrior. And that's what is happening now. Arjun gets all the credit. So that pain of discipline, but so much success, so much benefit now, because the person agreed to discipline himself or herself. Nimitta matram. You can become a nimitta, you can become an instrument for the most special contributions in this creation. And therefore we see the people who discipline themselves in all these ways have contributed a lot to the society. You find out some of the biggest contributors to the world. You will find them disciplined in these areas of life. And these are exact teachings of Bhagavad Gita. And now we go to the next discipline, that is work-related discipline. And the work-related discipline comes from chapter 18, as I said, of Bhagavad Gita. Shri Krishna makes this wonderful point in text number 28, 18th chapter, text number 28. He says, Ayukta prakrita stabdha shato naishkritiko alasa vishadi dirgha sutricha karta tamasa uchyate. This is the worker who is always engaged in work which is against the scriptural injunctions. Very important here. When you have to do the work, you think whether it is as per scriptural injunctions. Otherwise, you will not do that work, which is against the scriptural injunctions. Second, who is material? So somebody who is engaged in the work against the injunctions of scriptures, who is materialistic, who is obstinate. You cannot change that person. He's ziddi, as it is said in Hindi. Ziddi, obstinate. He's cheating. Cheating propensities are very common. Telling a lie at every step. Expert in insulting others. He's lazy. He's morose. And main thing is tendency to procrastinate again and again. I will do tomorrow, I will do tomorrow, I will do tomorrow. Keeps procrastinating. Such a person is said to be the worker in the mode of ignorance. And then 18.27, what does that say? The worker who is very greedy, who is very attached to the fruits, who holds on to his plan more tightly than required, too desperate for things to go his way only, who is easily moved by joy and sorrow, is said to be worker in the mode of passion. And then he says the most beautiful thing in text 26. Actually, goodness is said before. Mukta sango anhamvadi dhriti utsaha samanvita siddhi asiddhayor nirvikara karta satvika uchyate. One who performs his duty without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, and without wavering in success or failure, is said to be worker in the mode of goodness. Some examples. Procrastinating is such a bad habit. In fact, the statement goes that opportunity knocks, but most people complain about the noise. Or every day opportunity knocks at least once. Very few people use it, or very few people notice it. In Ramayana, this beautiful example comes of Sugriva. Sugriva is a wonderful devotee of Lord Ram. But what had happened was, I'm talking about work-related discipline, how we fulfill our commitments to our work. When Lord Ram met Sugriva first time, Sugriva had many doubts of what is the power of Lord Ram. As we all know, Lord Ramachandra, Mother Sita was kidnapped by Ravan. So Lord Ramachandra was searching for Mother Sita. And he was desperately searching all over the place, and he was looking for some help. So when he came to Sugriva, Sugriva was doubting who is Ram. And Sugriva placed many tests before Ram. That I will have faith on your power only if you pass this 1, 2, 3 tests. And Lord Ram wonderfully passed. Of course, there was no doubt that he will not pass the test. He was the Supreme Lord. But then, then Lord Ram helped Sugriva to gain his lost kingdom, because Sugriva's brother had snatched away the kingdom from Sugriva and thrown Sugriva out of the palace. He was trying to kill Sugriva, and a lot of injustice had happened to Sugriva. So Sugriva, who was the king of the monkeys, king of the Vanaras, he actually helped Lord Ram to get, he was actually helped by Lord Ram. But then we see when it was Sugriva's turn to offer help back to Ramachandra, it was a time of, that Chaturmas time, 4 months, they were not supposed to have any activities. So Sugriva was supposed to help Ram. But what happened was, when Sugriva got his kingdom back from Ramachandra, Sugriva got so absorbed in the opulences of that kingdom. He got so absorbed, so distracted by the enjoyments, that he completely forgot his commitment to Lord Ramachandra. So what happens usually in our life is, we are very much focused on the temporary thrilling pleasures of this world. And as a result of that, the thrills of this world, as a result of that, our commitment to our work, our discipline towards our work is so little. Previously, people could sit for 3, 4, 5 hours, can read a book and completely absorb. Nowadays, sometimes just 15 minutes reading exercise becomes such a painful exercise, because every minute we are distracted by something on the social media, something on our phones. We want to check news, something we keep doing. Cannot remain focused on one thing. That's the weakness. And Sugriva got completely distracted by that. He completely forgot, and that time Lord Ram had to send Lakshman and remind Sugriva of his duties, of his commitments to Lord Ramchandra, that Sugriva will have to help Lord Ram find Mother Sita. On the other side, we have a contrasting example of Hanumanji. Lord Ram sent Hanumanji to Lanka to find Mother Sita. Actually, Lord Ram sent Vanaras all over the place, different directions on the planet, find Mother Sita, where this demon has taken Mother Sita away. And Hanuman was sent in the southern direction, and Hanuman actually reached Lanka. Now, see, to reach Lanka, how many distractions came for Hanumanji? When Hanumanji was crossing the ocean, suddenly from inside the ocean, a big mountain came, and that mountain personified. That person came and told Hanumanji, "Oh, you are flying over this ocean, you are jumping over this ocean. I think you should take some rest. Why don't you take some rest, have some refreshments, then you go there?" Hanumanji folded hands, offered all the respect to all the refreshments, to all the rest which was offered by this mountain. But Hanumanji said, "Look, I am really focused on the mission of my Lord Ram, and I will not take rest till I complete that mission." Completely dedicated to the work related discipline. A person who is fully focused, who is not wavered during his work, as we studied in this section of Bhagavad Gita in 27, 28, 29. Action which is regulated, action which is fully focused on the goal, and you are not distracted by the temporary enjoyments and thrills of this world. With great determination, with great enthusiasm, without wavering, is a worker in the mode of goodness. And then, not only this, Hanumanji offered pranams to the mountain. He went over the ocean. He reached Lanka. And when he reached Lanka, now see, Sugriva got his wife back from Vali. Sugriva got his kingdom back from Vali. He got completely absorbed in the family happiness. He forgot his commitment to Lord Ram. And here is Hanuman in Lanka. In Lanka, he went, he reduced his size, in a very small size. He actually entered Lanka, and he went to every palace of Lanka, and finally he reached Ravana's palace. And in the Ravana's palace, so much enjoyment, so much opulence. And Ravana was lying there completely intoxicated, surrounded by so many ladies from all over the universe, lying around Ravana. And here is Hanuman, a celibate, who is bound by the vows of brahmacharya, and he is out there amidst all this opulence, not even slightly affected, not even slightly distracted, but fully focused on his commitment in the service of Lord Ram. And that's why Lord Krishna is telling this regulations with respect to work, commitment to the work, dedication to the work, again and again in Bhagavad Gita. He is helping us focus. In fact, at one point, he analyzes determination in three modes. He says that determination which is unbreakable. In 18th chapter, 33rd verse, he mentions this. That determination which is unbreakable. You know, our work dynamics are very much controlled by our mood swings. Today I have the mood, tomorrow I do not have the mood. Our mood keeps changing all the time. He says, which is unbreakable and which controls the activities of mind, life, and senses, is determination in the mode of goodness. Controls the activities of mind and senses. We are not overpowered by the needs of our mind, but we are focused. That is work-related discipline. Now, somebody may wonder during this discussion that, okay, here we have some questions coming. I'll take in a couple of minutes. So we have sometimes this question, oh my God, so many disciplines, but I can't discipline myself. It is so difficult. This thought may come. Work-related discipline or temporal discipline or physical discipline or a spatial discipline. But the point is, this whole discipline system begins by setting a whole culture of discipline in our life. I'll just focus more on these points, but I want to, before that, I want to mention the next discipline, that is the society-related discipline. You know, that is also very important, how we deal in the society. You know, a simple thing. how a person follows the social laws. Standing at a at the traffic junction, we have green, red signals. How you have a tendency to just break the signal and doesn't bother about signals. In Mahabharata, a beautiful section comes how Pandavas had such a respect on the social front, on the disciplines. These five brothers, they were staying with their wife, Draupadi. And staying with the wife, Draupadi, actually one day Vyasadeva came and he says, you five brothers are sharing one wife, you have one wife, five brothers. This can lead to real conflicts in family. And therefore you should have strict laws. And therefore a certain period was fixed that this much period one brother will spend with Draupadi, this much period one brother, this much time spent, this much time spent. It was equally divided. And it was said when one brother will spend time with his wife Draupadi, the other brother is not allowed to meet and enter the private quarters of that brother. Now what happened one day, Maharaj Yudhishthir was in the palace alone with Draupadi, and that time a Brahman came desperately looking for help. And Arjun realized to help this Brahmana, because somebody came and a lot of robbery happened and somebody was stealing away all the cows of the Brahmana. So Brahmana came and asking for help. Arjun realized if I have to help, I have to enter Yudhishthir's quarters because all my weapons are kept in Yudhishthir's quarters. He entered the Yudhishthir's quarters, and when he entered Yudhishthir's quarters, he was no, this was against the rule. He directly went to that place where all the weapons were kept. He picked the weapons, came out, helped the Brahmana, and everybody was saying, all glories to Arjun, all glories to Arjun, wonderful. Everybody was clapping for Arjun. But in the process, what happened? He broke the law, which law was fixed in between the Pandavas. At that time, Yudhishthir said, I'm so proud of you that you, because the punishment was, if you break the law, you will have to go and stay in the forest. You will have to go and stay away from the family, away from the palace for 1 full year. Now, Arjun, he was least bothered about the punishment. He was more bothered about his duty towards the Brahmana and taking care. So that was his work-related discipline. At the same time, he had a society-related discipline. He took the weapons, helped the Brahmana, and then he told Maharaj Yudhishthir, I am going for a 1 year punishment. And Maharaj Yudhishthir, the king, the eldest brother of Arjun, he said, no need. I have no issues you broke the law because you broke this law for a higher cause. I am telling you as the king, as the elder brother, no need to go. Arjun said, no, I will follow the law because if I break the law, the whole society will also follow our example. So let me stick to the law. And Arjun actually went and followed that law and stayed 1 year in exile in the forest. So this way, Bhagavad Gita really tells us that how these great souls live as per scriptural injunctions, sticking to the regulations of time and regulations of scriptures, regulations of time, regulations of social laws, regulations of physical laws. And there are 3 more sections, but we will not be taking that now. We'll be taking that next time because today in the beginning, we had a special introductory session. So I am just not completing the full session right now. We'll keep meeting every week and we'll be discussing more. But I just want to take some questions right now. Okay. One question, the whole world belongs to Krishna, God. Then how do we differentiate Bharat and other countries? Wonderful. Such a brilliant question, actually. Now, actually, if you see, at the time of Pandavas, Maharaj Yudhishthir, was ruling, practically everything was like a Bharat Bhumi, Bharat Varsh, like the whole globe was under one rule. But then as time passed, in one sense, your question is very valid. There is no point of differentiation. But right now, what we are referring to as Bharatvarsh is the land where the Vedic scriptures are being followed. What in the common language is referred to as Hindu Dharma. Basically, what we are referring to as Vedic scriptures. So, not going into the details of history, main thing what I'm saying is Bharatvarsha is the land of Vedic Dharma. That's what we are referring to right now. I hope it answers your question. Next, there is a question. My question is that discipline is must, and this can only lead us to enlightenment. Even by knowing this truth, I cannot follow it. So my question is how we can bring discipline in life. Yes, so therefore we have to start step by step. What we are speaking could be very lofty for some of us, could be very high. We have to start from basic small things, and that small things just take you into a loop of discipline. That's why I'm using the word culture of discipline. Create that culture within you, that you value discipline. Just like a simple thing like punctuality. So many times people do not have this habit of being punctual. Like I was called to one program and I reached there 6 o'clock. Program was supposed to start 6 o'clock. And as some of you are using the word Guruji in the question. So this person, this host said, "Oh, Guruji, you came so early." I mean, what do you mean early? It was 6 o'clock. So I came at 6 o'clock. But they said, no, but when we say 6 o'clock, crowd comes at 8 o'clock. And therefore, if you come at 6 o'clock, people will think you are not a very important person because you are before time. And people will lose your importance thinking that people will value somebody who comes at 8 o'clock. And if they come at 8, you should come at 9. Then your value will increase even more. So this means the whole culture is so bad. So we have to start practicing the culture step by step, but we'll be taking a separate session on the time management also. Guruji, my question is that we all know that, okay, this one I read. What if the family duties come in the way of goals? I'm a girl bounded with house duties alone, and I have a lot of things to study, but I can't make it. Good point. Speaking from Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna had family duties very much in front of him. And because Arjuna analyzes his family duties in detail, he doesn't give up his family duties in the name of spirituality. In fact, the whole first chapter, he analyzes his duties towards the family. And in the first chapter, last verse, and in the second chapter, 6th verse, it is in detail mentioned in the purport that Arjuna became qualified for the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita because he was very careful that his duties towards family should not be neglected. So this balance we have to learn. One cannot be neglectful towards one's duties. Therefore, before pointing out spiritual discipline, we are pointing out 7 other disciplines. Look at Ramayana. If you want to learn about family duties, look at Ramayana. The dedication with 4 brothers, Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrughna, had to each other. The dedication Ram had towards Kaikai, the stepmother. Of course, that we'll discuss next time more in relationship disciplines, but relationship disciplines should be taken care. Which is the first priority a person taking care of his family, self, nation, society? Wonderful question. Family, self, nation, society. As it is said, charity begins at home. First, take care of yourself. Of course, when we say taking care of self, self-care doesn't mean selfishness. Selfishness is different, self-care is different. We take care of self so that we can contribute. Then after self, taking care of the family, very important. At the same time, nation is a bigger family, so that's more important. In fact, there are many, many examples in the scriptures where people did sacrifice their smaller family for a bigger cause. But then which one we need to prioritize. We may need personal guidance from some mature people, from people of wisdom, people of experience, who can really tell us in our personal situation what needs to be given preference at a certain time. But definitely take good care of yourself, and then gradually you get the maturity. And good care of self means not only physical care, but develop intellectually, develop spiritually. And that gives you maturity to decide which one to prioritize when. What should one do during Brahma Muhurta to attain enlightenment? Wow, that's like you gave me a whole topic for the seminar in the coming weeks. What should one do during the Brahma Muhurta to attain enlightenment? Brahma Muhurta is specifically, as the word says, Brahma. Now, Brahma, this Brahman actually refers to spiritual connection. It is very beautifully explained that when you go to an airport, the airplane takes off from the runway and then flies. Runway is compared to the mode of goodness. So अगर आपको spiritual practice करना है, first you have to come to mode of goodness. Mode of goodness is a platform of being satisfied, being happy, being peaceful, not being too greedy, not being lazy. Morning time is supposed to be like that. You see, the whole world is peaceful. There is not much activity. There's no phone calls coming. Nobody is communicating. That is the time you use it for spiritual connection. It's like a runway from where your flight takes off. So you use for spiritual connection. Like today, somebody called me last night around 7 o'clock. They said, we want to come and meet you at 8 o'clock. And can we come? I said, yeah, I would have given time, but tomorrow morning, 6:30, I have to give class. So I need to wake up really early so that I do my 2 hours of Hare Krishna chanting and I am ready before the session starts. And therefore I need to sleep early. So I need to balance accordingly. So then he said, okay, you come today. So the point is, you have to really take care of Brahma Muhurta time very carefully. This time is not lost. The best thing is if you chant the holy names, chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. As you said, the story of the sage sleeping 3 hours. Do you subscribe to this concept of less sleep, or do you advocate for 8 hours of sleep? Thank you for a very practical question. Yes, 6 to 8 hours of sleep is very much required. But then we have examples of such sages, because they were on a very high level of spiritual platform. They were not so much conditioned by the body. So naturally, when somebody becomes spiritually elevated, his sleep hours reduce. Of course, for us, sleep hours may reduce because we are too disturbed, sleep less. We may need sleeping pills. That's a different thing. But this reduction of sleep is because of very high level of spiritual practice. And also a very strong missionary spirit. Therefore, such people do not work on physical energy. They work on spiritual energy. But for all of us, average people, a good amount of sleep is very much required. Otherwise, it can be devastating on all platforms: physical, emotional, spiritual, etc. Even for a spiritual life, a balanced thing is required. Okay, somebody is giving their appreciations that the presentation of essential elementary living aspects are very important. Thank you for covering that. Okay, thanks for their appreciation. Another question. Can I have the insights of the example of butterfly in case of soaring high in our passion? Yes. Why I did not cover that concept in detail today, because in the beginning, if you remember, if you were there, Dr. Swami was telling that how there are many factors which are responsible for the success of any project. So when I am referring to butterfly, holding butterfly too tightly, and we all know when you hold butterfly very tightly, you will damage the wings. So what we want to say, any spiritually elevated person, it could be a family man, it could be a student, but anybody who is who has spiritual wisdom, such a person would realize that behind us as a doer, there is a divine hand also. So therefore it is said, work as if everything depends on us, but um, pray as if everything depends on God. So if somebody is holding butterfly too tightly, which is compared to our plans, which means such a person thinks, I am the only doer. Prakritah kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha. Ahankara vimudhat. Such a person thinks, I am the only doer. But one should know there is another doer, Lord Krishna. We'll take this again later on. I have noted down all the questions, but now it's 8 o'clock and we would like to maintain the temporal discipline of time schedules, and we will take your questions. I have noted down, and next time we will take some sessions based on that. Thank you very much for the presence of all of you for this session. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So we will end now.